Why does seeing the truth so often feel like a punishment? You knew your friend's relationship was toxic long before they admitted it. The way their voice changed when their partner entered the room. The way they laughed, too loudly, too quickly. You saw it. You felt it. Have you ever sensed something was off before anyone else said a word? Comment 1 if you've ever picked up on tension or dishonesty no one else seemed to notice. Comment 2 if you tend to dismiss your gut instincts until someone else confirms them. But when you spoke up, they said you were reading too much into things. So you stayed quiet. Again, you walk into a room and sense tension no one else mentions. Smiles feel fake. Jokes land flat. You feel something brewing under the surface, but experience has taught you. If you say it, they'll say you're too sensitive. If this is familiar, you're not broken. You're intuitive. More specifically, you may be an introverted intuitive, the rarest type Carl Jung identified. And that comes with a very specific struggle. Seeing what others miss, but being told you're wrong for seeing it. This article explains why. We'll break down the exact psychological mechanism behind this experience, using Carl Jung's theory of psychological types. You'll learn why your insights come in sudden flashes, why they're often dismissed, and why the gift feels like a burden, especially in daily life. Jung believed that without this type, humanity would have had no prophets, no visionaries, no one to read the deeper currents of civilization. But here's the problem. Most introverted intuitives don't feel like visionaries. They feel misunderstood, overwhelmed, and out of sync with the practical world. This isn't because your gift is flawed. It's because it's incomplete. You've developed the ability to perceive the invisible. Now, you need the tools to ground that vision into real life. That's what we'll cover. From understanding your unique perceptual mode, to integrating the inferior function that sabotages you in daily tasks. Do you ever feel like your insights are powerful but hard to explain? Comment 1 if your biggest struggle is getting others to take your intuition seriously. Comment 2 if your main challenge is trusting your insights in the first place. The goal: stop fighting your nature. Start learning how to use it. This isn't about fixing you. It's about unlocking the power that's already there. First, don't confuse shyness with introversion. Shyness is the fear of social judgment. Introversion is a nervous system style, how you process stimulation, including social stimulation. You can be articulate and confident in conversation and still need solitude afterward to metabolize what you took in. That retreat isn't weakness. It's cognitive hygiene. Your gift isn't a hazy sixth sense. In Jung's terms, you're operating a specific perceptual attitude, introverted intuition, NI. It doesn't meander through data point by data point. It apprehends form. Where others collect details, NI apprehends the underlying pattern that makes those details cohere. You don't need 10 proof points because your mind recognizes the architecture that would produce them. This means you are perceiving what Jung would call inner objects, psychic forces, motives, fears, longings, real dynamics that organize behavior but aren't visible to the eye. For you, these inner objects have the same reality that a chair has for someone with a sensation-first lens. So when people dismiss your read as overthinking, it grates because, subjectively, the structure is right there. Your perception runs from the inside out, while extroverted sensation, SE, snapshots the surface. Tone of voice, body language, facts on the table. NI quietly gathers microsignals, shifts in cadence, recurring motifs, gaps between words and affect, and composes a map of meaning. You don't climb a ladder of logic. You arrive at a vista. It feels less like solving an equation and more like a room light flicking on. This is also why you're hard to follow. Most people prefer linear proofs. Show me A, B, C. Your intuition presents structural conclusions. I'm seeing pattern X, therefore A. To them, it sounds like a leap. To you, it's the only honest summary of everything your system has already integrated beneath awareness. If life were a film, most people watch frame by frame. You read the script. They see two actors arguing. You recognize a power motif that makes the next scene predictable. That's the gift. A lens tuned to the background, meaning that shapes foreground events. It isn't moodiness or magic. It's a disciplined perceptual mode Jung identified and took seriously precisely because it reveals what drives the human story. Understand this, and the next step becomes clear. Since you're perceiving through the unconscious, not just the five senses, you'll also need a different method for validating and communicating what you know. You don't just notice, you register. Most people lean on the five senses and explicit logic. You run another channel, perception through the unconscious. In Jung's map, introverted intuition, (NI), looks past the surface facts to the processes that underlie them. You absorb micro-cues, pauses, mismatches between words and affect, repeating motifs in a person's stories, and your psyche assembles them into a single, coherent image. That's why your insights arrive as wholes, not steps. Your mind integrates beneath awareness, then presents a finished gestalt. To others, this feels like a leap. To you, it's simply honest. The pattern is already formed, so you report the pattern. Of course, this channel has liabilities. Because the processing is subterranean, it can be hard to show your work. When you can't unpack the sequence, you look dogmatic. The antidote isn't to abandon the channel. It's to learn how to translate it. We'll get there. For now, trust the basic mechanism. You are perceiving via the unconscious, just as validly as someone else perceives via sight or sound. Jung's point wasn't mystical. It was descriptive. Human beings do not all see the same things, even when staring at the same scene. You notice the organizing form, the invisible skeleton, while others catalog the skin. When you read a friend's relationship and just know, you're not guessing. You're recognizing archetypal patterns. Jung called archetypes forms of instinct, recurring templates of human drama that show up in myths, religions, and everyday life. Think of the victim-rescuer-persecutor triangle, the puer-puella, who resists commitment, the wise old man mentor, the trickster, who destabilizes rigid structures. Your perception works like a musicologist, hearing the chord progression beneath a pop song. Different instruments, different singers, but the same progression. You see the pattern of fusion and control, idealization and devaluation, performative harmony with simmering resentment. That's why your read can jump past details straight to, this dynamic will repeat unless X changes. Archetypes aren't stereotypes. They're structural motifs. They don't tell you who a person is. They reveal the game being played by the psyche at that moment. With practice, you can name the motif out loud, in neutral language, so others can track it. I'm noticing a cycle where relief follows a grand apology. Then anxiety returns within a week. That's a reconciliation rupture loop. Naming the pattern converts a private knowing into a shared map. It also respects the person's freedom. You're pointing to the story logic, not condemning the characters. Why do your insights often feel like a sudden flash? Because they're pulled from a deeper repository Jung called the collective unconscious, a shared psychological hard drive of motifs like the hero's journey, the mentor, the threshold guardian, the transformation cycle. When current events rhyme with those structures, your psyche lights up. The result is an image that arrives whole, what Jung described as perceiving background processes of consciousness almost as distinctly as others perceive external objects. That lightning bolt quality is not proof you're infallible. It's a signature of how your cognition composes meaning. Treat the flash as raw data, vivid, valuable, but still needing translation and testing. Ask, which archetype have I recognized? What elements match? Where might I be overfitting? Think of it like meteorology. A front moves in, pressure drops, wind shifts. The system snaps into a pattern the trained forecaster recognizes. The forecast can be wrong, but the pattern recognition itself is not irrational. It's expertise. Jung's audacious claim, Without the introverted intuitive, there would have been no prophets in Israel. He meant that cultures need visionaries who can read deep currents and anticipate turning points. You may not wear robes or make proclamations, but the function is the same, sensing trajectories, cautions, and possibilities before the consensus can see them. Here's the stumbling block. You assume that because your insight is accurate, disclosure will be welcomed and outcomes will be smooth. That's rarely true. Vision arrives early. Early looks threatening. People are bonded to their present story. Your preview of Act 3 can feel like an attack on Act 1. The mismatch breeds the curse feeling. I see, but I cannot land it. You're not wrong. You're out of phase. The remedy is twofold. Learn to pace reality. Translate, scaffold, and time your message. And learn to balance functions, so you don't sabotage yourself in the practical arena. In Jung's typology, when one function dominates, its opposite becomes inferior. Undeveloped, reactive, prone to extremes. For many introverted intuitives, the inferior pole shows up as extroverted sensation, SE. The world of concrete detail, bodily needs, time, money, logistics. Over-relying on inner images can make the outer world feel abrasive or trivial. You stay in the vision and neglect the mundane. Then the mundane revolts. Jung warned, the inferior function is not evil, it's crude power. Unintegrated, it erupts as impulsivity, procrastination, chaotic environments, or a love-hate relationship with pleasure and comfort. Integrated, it becomes grounding, the ability to feel your body, track time, attend to materials, and execute. The trap is moralizing. You tell yourself you're above details, or conversely, you berate yourself for not being naturally organized. Both stances miss the point. This isn't character, it's architecture. The strong function needs a partner, not a whipping boy. You'll recognize the pattern. High-level clarity, low-level chaos. You can sketch a brilliant strategy, but misplace your keys, ignore your inbox, or forget the landlord's text. Visionary solutions, late utilities. You can map a transformation for a team, but pay bills late and get hit with fees. Social X-ray vision, messy room. You can feel the tension in a group the moment you enter, yet struggle to keep a simple physical system running at home. Psychologically, the danger is contempt. You decide practicalities are beneath you, a waste of your visionary energy. That contempt boomerangs. The world of matter controls your life through the back door, fees, crises, missed opportunities, until you feel both gifted and stuck. Not a great combo. Have you noticed this trade-off in your own life? Comment 1 if you feel highly perceptive, but struggle with day-to-day logistics. Comment 2 if you found a system that helps you balance both worlds. What you ignore doesn't vanish. It pressurizes in the unconscious. The rebound looks like money panic, long stretches of inattention followed by acute anxiety spikes and rash decisions. Health obsession, neglect of bodily rhythms punctuated by spirals about symptoms, supplements, or single metrics. Microscopic control, hyperfocus on one neat corner, an immaculate desk, while the rest remains chaotic, creating an illusion of order without substance. Jung's hard line, a one-sided strength becomes a weakness. He even noted that introverted intuitives can live difficult lives if the inferior function isn't integrated. The psyche demands wholeness, not perfection. Two common moves don't work. Suppress the gift. You try to stop seeing, dull your perception, play along. This breeds numbness and resentment, and doesn't make you better at logistics. White-knuckle effort. You vow to try harder, buy 6 apps, and attack your to-do list with fury. It works for 3 days, then collapses. Why? Because the inferior function doesn't respond to force. It responds to relationship. The split persists because you're still fighting yourself. Suppression kills the gift. Willpower exhausts you. Neither builds integration. Integration means you stop outsourcing leadership to one function. In Jung's language, This is individuation. You become the center that can relate to all parts, not be hijacked by any single one. Your intuition remains lead architect, but it gains a project manager. Practically, that means vision guides what matters and why. Systems, habits, and concrete actions handle how, when, and in what order. You treat the inferior function like a junior partner, not in charge, but not ignored. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about binding your deep seeing to steady doing, so your insights can land in the world. Step 1. Grounding practices. Train seed gently. Purpose. Anchor awareness in the body and the immediate environment. Method. Take 10 to 15-minute walks with one rule. Attend only to sensory fact. Colors, edges, temperature, weight on your feet. No analysis, no narrative, no, what does this mean? If analysis starts, label it thinking and return to texture and sound. Add one more micro practice. When you sit down, place both feet on the floor. Feel your weight. Take one slow breath to the bottom of your lungs and name 3 concrete objects in view. You're not abandoning intuition. You're widening bandwidth. Step 2. Build systems for practical tasks. Externalize and automate. Rationale. Your brain isn't naturally detail-hungry. Stop making it remember what software can. Methods. Put all bills on autopay where possible. Live by a single calendar with alarms. No scattered notes. Create 2 to 3 anchor routines. AM reset, PM reset, weekly review. Keep them stupid simple. 10 minutes each. Same order every time. Use checklists for recurring tasks. Travel pack list, bill run, cleaning loop. Checklists remove decision fatigue and protect you on low-energy days. Step 3. Active imagination. Dialogue with the image. Shift from passively receiving flashes to interacting with them. Jung's method. Meet the image as if it were a character. Ask it questions. Challenge it. Request specifics. Practically, when a lightning bolt lands, open a page and write a 3-part dialogue. Image says, state the insight in its strongest form. You ask, what evidence would I expect if this is true within 7 to 14 days? Plan. Note 1 experiment. A conversation to have, a metric to watch, a boundary to test. You're not distrusting intuition. You're giving it a runway to prove itself. When you stop fighting the practical world, your vision sharpens. Paradoxically, grounding amplifies intuition. Why? Because clutter, lateness, and crisis eat attentional bandwidth. Remove friction, and you've freed capacity for deep seeing. Benefits you'll notice. Cleaner signal. Less static from avoidable stress means clearer reads on people and trends. Faster trust. Others experience you as reliable, not just insightful. Your counsel lands because your life demonstrates traction. Longer runway. Systems buy you time. Time lets you test and refine visions instead of rushing them. This is the bridge work. Not replacing vision with chores, but letting simple structures carry vision into action. The burden you felt isn't a flaw in the gift. It's the cost of running with half a toolkit. Once you integrate the neglected parts, the curse reframes itself as signal without a circuit. Powerful energy with no clean path to ground. Build the circuit, and the same wattage illuminates instead of shocks. Don't chase perfection. Integration is iterative. See, try, adjust. Some weeks, your C will lag. Some weeks, your knee will feel muted. That fluctuation isn't failure. It's training. The psyche strengthens through cycles. Like the transformation motifs you already recognize. Choose consistency over intensity. 10 minutes of grounding daily beats a 2-hour binge once a month. 1 weekly review at the same time beats heroic catch-up. Remember, practice, experience, and sustained effort outperform raw talent when the goal is balanced functioning. Adopt a humble stance toward the inferior function. It doesn't yield to scolding. It responds to respect, small wins, and predictability. Track progress in concrete terms. Number of on-time bills. Days executed on the AM/PM reset. conversations that followed an active imagination experiment. Keep the inner narrative clean. Not, I'm bad at life, but I'm training a neglected partner. Not, I must explain everything, but I will translate my images into testable steps. Not, they don't get me, but I will pace the room so they can come with me. This is individuation in motion. You becoming the CEO of your psyche, not a captive of your strongest department. Here's the synthesis. You perceive inner objects, the forces that shape behavior, through a channel most people can't name, but often rely on in crisis. Introverted intuition. That channel draws on archetypes lodged in a collective stratum of mind, which is why your insights arrive whole and feel mythic. This same gift becomes a burden when you mistake accuracy for readiness and ignore the inferior function that must carry vision into form. The turning point is integration, not self-betrayal, not white-knuckle discipline, relationship between your seer and your builder. Grounding connects you to the present. Systems extend your reliability. Active imagination upgrades flashes into hypotheses and experiments. Together, they transform your private knowing into shared reality. The message through Jung's lens is simple. Individuation isn't self-ornamentation, it's wholeness. When you honor each function for what it offers, your life stops oscillating between inspiration and fallout. You become what you were pointed at all along. An essential visionary, not just seeing the future, but responsibly ushering it in. Your task is not to dim your sight. Your task is to bridge it. Start with one grounding walk today. Set up one autopay and one calendar alarm. Run one active imagination dialogue and design one test. That's it. Small steps, repeated, change destiny. Jung wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." For you, that darkness isn't evil. It's the unlit half of your toolkit. The body, the clock, the ledger, the checklist. Light them up. Let them serve the vision rather than sabotage it. If this helped you reframe your gift, subscribe for more work on using your psychology with you, not against you. Like this video if you're ready to build bridges between inner and outer worlds, and share it with someone who sees deeply but struggles to land their insight. You were never too much. You were unfinished. Finish the bridge, then walk across it, bringing others with you. Does this message resonate with your personal growth journey? Comment 1 if you're starting to build your bridge now. Comment 2 if you've already begun walking others across with you. See you next time. Peace.